think whoever joins us.
Okay, we're ready whenever you are.
Okay.
Whenever I.
Right. Okay, I'll start. So everybody, welcome. Welcome to the presentation. We are hosting May Brooks-Kempler, and she's giving us a presentation about volunteering. We're excited to hear that, but real quick, we have a few housekeeping notes. First of all, October 5th, in 2 weeks, we will be at Interface Albuquerque, and that is at the Marriott, and it will be from 8 to 3. So Chris Goodrich, our very own, will be giving a presentation about privacy. And we also will be on the exhibit floor, so come by and see us. And if there are any volunteers to come staff the booth, by all means, we'd be more than happy for help. And then second, we have our annual FBI field trip in October also. We've sent out a survey. So if you haven't voted, please go on and select your first and second choice if you haven't done already. And as always, they will be doing a very high level background check. So just keep that in mind if you do want to attend. So with that, let me go ahead and introduce May. She is quite an accomplished member here. And she's the founding president of the ISC2 Israel chapter and runs the Think Safe Cyber community in Israel. She's a member of the ISC2 chapter advisory committee and is currently nominated for the ISC2 board of directors. And during her career, she's occupied various roles such as penetration tester, security architect, GRC consultant, UABA manager, and CISO. She is a director at Cyber Range Solutions and a director of content at Cybering Labs. And she also co-authored the HCISSP and CISSP official study guides. So quite a background and quite a lot under her belt. So we're excited to hear what she has to say. So at this point, May, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Thank you. Well, I always said being hyperactive has its advantages, and having 26 hours a day is definitely one of those advantages. So let me just see my presentation. Can everyone see the presentation? Yep.
Yes.
Cool. And for those of you who'd like to open up their camera so I can see you, it's always better than just seeing blank black screens. It always feels more personal that I'm not talking to myself. So I call this presentation Hacking Algorithms, Altruism, not algorithm. That's it. It's 3:30 in the morning for me, so you will have to excuse me. Hacking Altruism and Giving is Receiving. It's one of the only presentation I ever created that were not directly related to cybersecurity, and it's actually daunting and exciting all in one, because talking about like techie things is easy, but talking about myself and personal things and volunteering is more personal. I can't just hide behind protocols and algorithms, so hopefully you'll enjoy it. So as mentioned, I've been doing loads of things, been officially in cybersecurity since 2003. I'm saying officially because as a teenager, I used to play a lot of computer games, especially Commander Kin and Super Mario Brothers and things like that. And I always tried to find my way around with cheat sheets and things like that. So basically, I was hacking my way through the various levels. The IDF identified that and said, how about you do cybersecurity? At first, I was doing networking and sysadmin and things like that. And then they said, do you want to do information security? I said, yeah, sure. But what's that? So that's sort of the way that my journey in this industry started. That was over 20 years ago. And I'm absolutely in love with everything that we do. I think otherwise you cannot really survive in this field. But it's about 6-7 years ago now, something like that, 2007 and 17, my parents-in-law were planning a trip to London, and they were very excited, and they were sharing, we're going to go this and there, and what do you think about this location? Now, I'm originally from London, my family is from London, so I looked at the location that they sent me, and I said, yeah, that looks great, absolutely, you're going to have so much fun, great. And they found this amazing Airbnb apartment that they were really excited to go to. They were going for like 8 days. And a couple of days later, I could hear my husband talking to his father over the phone, and I overheard him saying something about going to the bank to do a bank transfer. Say what? What do you mean bank transfer? It's Airbnb. You pay online. It's very easy. You don't have to leave the comfort of your home, just like I like it. And apparently the flat owner contacted him in his email and told him, sure, if you want us to give you a special price, just pay me directly via a bank wire. I was like, that doesn't sound good. I asked them to send me the actual Airbnb page, and within like maybe 30 seconds, I could see it was a complete hoax. The reviews were all from the same date or set of dates. It didn't look very real. I mean, the pictures all looked real, but the reviews didn't. And it had a lot of red flags there. We tried to contact the owner. Obviously, she ignored it completely. Within minutes, I was already on the phone with the CISO of their bank in Israel. He called his counterpart in the UK. It was too late by that time. She already took the money, about $2,000, and ran. I'm saying she because she identified herself as a woman, but it could have been a man. It could have been a teenager. I have no idea. All of a sudden, when that happened, I said, wow, the great May Brooks, the CISO, the one who does awareness training at work for years, when have I ever taken the time to talk to my own family, to my own friends about staying safe online? And the brutal truth I had to realize was I never did. I never talked to my parents. I never talked to my parents-in-law. I never talked to my friends. Around the same time, the same period of time, friends of mine started buying their kids their first smartphones. And they were asking me, how can we protect our kids online? And the honest truth was, I have no idea. And another friend of mine, she and her husband have a small law firm with about like 5-10 lawyers, something like that. And she asked me, how can we protect the business? I have no idea. I know how to protect a law firm with 400 lawyers, if that helps. And when these questions started coming from all sort of places, I said, wait a minute. It doesn't make sense that if someone doesn't have a cybersecurity expert in the family, they have no one to consult with. So I did get back to them with some sort of guidance, and I asked friends. And when I started talking to friends about it, I said, wait a minute. No one is doing this. It's not just me that I didn't take the time to talk to my family. Most of us don't. And that got me thinking. And the first thing I did as a result was to start the ISC2 Israeli chapter. Israel has about 400, today it's about 450 certified ISC2 members. However, it never had a chapter. Though the Israeli cybersecurity community is a very close community. We are a very small country, 9 million people. The cybersecurity industry is very close. We're very tightly knitted, but specifically for ISC2, we never had a chapter. So back in 2018, I founded the chapter. We have about 200 members, even more, 250 members now, doing a lot of events. And one of the things that I tried to lead with the chapter was volunteering events. And I started doing it myself. I started going to my kids' school and friends' schools and things like that, and started volunteering in schools. And we translated the safe and secure online material from ISC2, started delivering that. And I said, that's great, but my volunteering time is limited. There's only so many hours in a day. I can't volunteer all the time. And I started thinking, okay, what can I do on a bigger scale? And that led me to the stage of TEDx. And back in January 2020, 2nd of January, I was standing on stage on that iconic red carpet, talking about cybersecurity. And my TEDx talk is called Think Cyber. And it was I think it was probably the first TEDx talk that was talking about cybersecurity for the general public, for everyone in a very simplified way so that everyone can stay safe online. Little did I know that COVID was just around the corner. after doing the TEDx, I said, that's great. Now let's reach out to the community. So I started a Facebook group called Think Safe Cyber. I started that on January 2020. This is actually a statistic from August, from last month. It had 21,591. And last I checked, which was a couple of days ago, we were already at 22,000 something. So we have about 100 new joiners every week. We have for a very long time. And again, that was with COVID just around the corner. And we started doing things, and obviously I'm not running all of these things alone. I was very fortunate to have a group of great volunteers with setting up the chapter, and of course with running this community, because running a Facebook community with 20,000 members means that I get DMs every single day. Some of them are very short, some of them are very long, some of them just asking for support, some of them are asking us to do something active. This morning I got a DM from a mother that her teenage daughter is being bullied online. There's an anonymous Instagram page posting very abusive things about her. And she was reaching out to ask, what can she do about it? So I sent her over to the Israeli police's online children protection unit or something to that extent. It's a very, very long name, but in short, we call it 105 because that's their phone number. So I reached out to 105. I asked her to submit an official complaint. I also reached out to the head of the department, talked to her, and they're taking care of it, or at least they're trying to. And that is just one example of things that we do in the community. Obviously, I can't do it alone, and we'll get to that in a couple of seconds. But one of the things that happened around January, February, even before COVID started, was I started getting a lot of traction. A lot of people started reaching out to me and saying, can we hear more? So I tend to listen to the public, and I started a podcast. Little did I know that March was around the corner, COVID was around the corner, and everything we did in real life basically stopped. And the community suddenly became super critical, because even people that never used to be online found themselves online all the time. Schools went online within 2 days. Businesses that never went online started going online. And the community really became a place for people to consult. The chapter became a super critical learning point for a learning resource for a lot of companies that said, I remember a phone call from a semi-defense contractor that called me and said, okay, we've never worked remotely. We know how to do it like technically, but what are we going to do about our employees? So it really opened up a lot of business opportunity for me personally, and for the other volunteers in the chapter and in the community as well. And we gave back a lot. We started doing volunteer work. Last year, we had over 80 volunteers from the Think Safe Cyber group going each to at least one school and delivering at least one talk. So that's 80 talks times 30 students per talk. That's thousands of students that got cybersecurity training through us, all volunteer work. And most people did more than one school. Most people in each school did more than one talk. So we reached thousands of people. And we actually I just remembered doing about this, that I just got an email last night from the Israeli National Cyber Directorate. Are we going to do something again this year, and can we work together? Which is amazing, because it does open up a lot of opportunities. Yes, I knew people in the INCD before that, the Israeli National Cyber Directorate, but obviously it gave me a lot of exposure. And that exposure, people ask me, why do you volunteer? So yes, sometimes volunteering is just making me feel good about myself. When people come up to me and tell me, I listened to your podcast, wow, it was amazing. Or when someone calls me up and tells me, can you come and lecture in our organization? Yes, it's an ego boost, but it's also a business opportunity. Because back then in Israel, I was running Helena, which was a cybersecurity awareness training company. And today with CRS and with Cybering Labs, when you have 20,000 people who report and ask you your advice about each and every phishing campaign that they see, or smishing message, or something that they don't even know what it is, then you're the first one to know that something is going on. And when you're the first one to know that something is going on, you have a lot of new opportunities. And those new opportunities led me personally to be on the news multiple times, to be interviewed in all sorts of global news outlets, podcasts, etc. It opened up loads of opportunities. When my husband came with the idea of let's relocate to the UAE, we were one of the first Israelis to relocate to the UAE. So I couldn't really count on like the Israelis will have my back, like most people that relocate do that. Because let's say if I relocate now to Silicon Valley, I think most of my friends now are outside Israel. Like most of the people that served with me in 8200 have already left Israel, unfortunately. And I have a big community in New York and Jersey and a huge community in Silicon Valley. So usually that's the way it goes. But when he said the UAE, there weren't any Israelis in the UAE. But it was pretty easy for me to create my professional network because I already had global connections. And that was a huge thing. From a business perspective, it gave me huge opportunities, both really commercial ones, come and lecture here, come do that, publish your book. I really hope that over the next couple of weeks, I'll have time to do the last proofreading of the English version. The disadvantage of knowing a second language means that you're a perfectionist. So I can't just send it to be translated and let go. Hopefully when it goes to other countries, I won't be able to proofread it. So that's easier. I've been doing the proofreading for about 6 months now. But it did open loads of opportunities. It opened job opportunities for me. It opened personal opportunities and for my customers as well. Because I get so many live alerts all the time, I get the opportunity to send those alerts over to my customers. So when I was a CISO and suddenly I saw a new campaign going on Facebook, immediately, because again, I have 20,000 people reporting. And when you have 20,000 people, it's not the same as being a CISO of a 20,000 people, 20,000 employees company, because that's one company. I have 20,000 people from all industries, from all parts of the countries, from all sorts of backgrounds. So when I see a few people from different industries, a few people from different places all report back on the same thing, I understand this is now a thing. And for example, one of the things that has been going on in Israel for the last 3 months or so are Facebook ads. Hackers hack into commercial pages and start advertising their own ads, usually pertaining to be one of the bigger retailers, like let's say they'll impersonate Target in the US or Amazon. Amazon has a huge batch of whatever recalled whatever packages, and you can buy them for $10. And the amount of people that actually think that they can buy something for $10 that is worth $100 is incredible. So when you see it once, that's one thing. But when you see it 15 times in the same week, you realize that you have a campaign going on. And they will usually hack a lot of pages at the same time and usually send it in all sorts of different formats. And as a CISO, it gave me a great opportunity to warn my employees. As a service provider, it gave me a great opportunity to warn all of my customers. And usually when I get something like that, I will also send it to the chapter so that all the chapter members can do the same for their communities, for their companies. So it really created sort of an ecosystem that was incredible. And again, it helped me on a personal level as well. People ask me, can you monetize how much money you made out of these groups, out of this volunteering activity? To be honest, no, I can't. There is no way to put a number on it. For example, I got a few sponsorship opportunities. People call me, can we put a sponsorship on the community or on the podcast? And some of these opportunities were pretty good. And some of them, I just told them, you know what, just cover my expenses. I'll be happy with that. Others were more lucrative, but at the end of the day, it's not something that you can really monetize on. It's just something that is ongoing and it opens opportunities. I think that probably, I would say at least 30-40% of my entire business outcome in Israel at the time came from my volunteer work, because people just knew who I was. So I never had to spend money or time on marketing. That was my marketing. That is my marketing. So I think that it started with doing good to the community. It continues with doing good to the community and getting something out of it. Whenever I talk about social engineering, whenever I talk about creating a cybersecurity awareness program or whatever, I always tell everyone who would listen, always think about the other side. What's in it for them? Why should you guys give me your most prized possession, which is your time, listen to me for 30 minutes or so already? Why? Because hopefully you do find some sort of benefit, something that resonates with you and that will help you in your personal or professional lives. So that's about Think Safe Cyber, and I want to talk a little bit about ISC2. Wow, I'm doing pretty good. I haven't said ISC Square all day, I think. I'm doing good with their new brand. So one of the reasons I wanted to reach out now around this time of the year, I always said, and I said that before we started, as a chapter advisory committee, I always said I want to reach out to different chapters around the world, hear more about what you guys are doing, what sort of benefit you see from being part of this community, both on a local chapter perspective and globally. I mean, you've all been ISC2 members for a while. Why? What's in it for you guys? What sort of benefit do you get from it? So that's something that I always wanted to do. And I did reach out to certain chapters, and I do work with other chapters around the world. And we have for a while, for example, I don't know if you're familiar with Ken from the New Jersey chapter. Ken has been running now. We're working towards the second year of SECON? I don't remember. Yeah, SECON, which is the global advisory meetup that we're going to do in December. Last year was absolutely brilliant. We had a few chapters from all over the world working together, creating the content. All the speakers were ISC2 chapter members from different regions. We have now, by the way, we're still call for speakers. So if you want to put in your talk, we will be more than happy to review it. So people like Ken, people like James Packer, people like James McGowan, we have been working together, and others. I don't want to mention everyone because I will forget people and then it's not nice. But we have been working together around the world. But I always want to reach out to more chapters, hear from you guys. And now I have the great excuse of the ISC2 Board of Director election coming up. So for those of you who are not familiar with the way it works, first of all, for ISC2, you know, it's a non-profit organization. It doesn't mean that it doesn't make money. Of course it does. We know we've been paying the annual maintenance fees for a long time. So they are making money, and they're from the exams and everything, but they are trying to give back money to the membership, to the community, etc. And the board of directors is a volunteer position in ISC2, all comprised of people that are already ISC2 members. You can't be in the board if you're not an active ISC2 member. And for me, that's a great opportunity of influencing the way this industry is going forward and the way the organization is going forward, what they're doing to support members in the US, in Israel, in the UAE, around the world. And to do that, I want to tell you a little bit about what I want to achieve. And then I want to hear from you guys. For me, ISC2, yes, CISSP is a very well-known certification. And yes, it opened up a lot of doors for me. I remember that when I added CISSP to my LinkedIn page, suddenly I started getting a lot of offers from various places, from new job opportunities, from relocation opportunities. I found myself like 2 months after doing the CISSP, I found myself in a job interview in the UK. And basically the only thing that changed in my resume was the CISSP. But I think that ISC2 can do more for its members. Yes, we have the Professional Development Institute. For those of you who are not familiar, the PDI offers a lot of online trainings. Some of them are very short, like 1 hour, 2 hour training. Some of them are much longer. Obviously, all of them come with the CPEs attached. So that's a great way to get CPEs. But I don't think that's enough. When I look at ISC2, I would like to see it offer clear career paths. Yes, they've started now with CC, and CC is a great certified in cybersecurity for people just starting out in cybersecurity. I think that's a great opportunity, but I don't think that's enough. For me, as a CISSP, I've been certified for 9 years now. When I look and I say, okay, now what's next for me? So yes, I can do the concentrations. Okay, and then what? Yes, there are this specific cloud or security development or whatever, but it's still not enough. So I want to see ISC2 do things that are more role-oriented, that will take someone on their journey from early stage of the career throughout their career. I want to see more connections around the world. I would like to see the chapters working together, creating a global community, that it wouldn't be just me reaching out over LinkedIn and trying to find who's the leader for the New Mexico chapter. I would like to see it as something more global, because people, and we had that conversation before, people move, people relocate, people change positions. And I think that having that community is critical. In Israel, I said the Israeli community, cybersecurity community, is a very tightly knitted group. And whenever I see something new, whenever as a CISO, when I was thinking of something that I want to do, something that I'm contemplating, something that I may have encountered, the first thing I did was reach out to my chapter, reach out to my network and ask them, have you ever encountered that? And we all work under Chatham House rules. And that is huge. I mean, I've been volunteering with the Israeli community, not just with ISC2 and the chapter. I've been doing a lot of things because I see great benefit in that. And that's something that I do think that ISC2 can do better. I think that on a global scale, we're not doing enough. So these are just a few things that I want to see. I want to see more support in chapters, because right now, for those of you who are not familiar with the way chapters work, basically we're making it up as we go along. Like, should we have a website? Yeah, sure. Are we going to do it on WordPress or Wix or GoDaddy? I don't know. Do whatever you want. And will you have a Discord page? Maybe. Will you have a WhatsApp group? Sure, why not? Like, there are no real rules, which on the one hand side gives the great benefit of every chapter can do whatever they see fit in accordance to the resources that they have and the ideas that they have, which is great. But I do think that ISC2 can offer more support. You don't have to take it, but they can offer more support. Now they've already started with giving some sort of funding, very small funding, but at least it's something, because before that, most chapters were either had membership fees or just self-paid for it, the chapter offices, or got some sort of sponsorship. So it's a lot of work. So I want to hear from you guys, because at the end of the day, being in the ISC2 board of directors, the process of becoming a board member, first of all, you have to be nominated, obviously, either self-nominated or someone else will nominate you. You submit your resume, you undergo interviews. For me, that was not the easy part. It wasn't an easy part because there were a lot of wonderful candidates, but I did go through that part. But now it's up to you guys, because now it's up to the election. It's up to their almost 500,000 members, ISC2 members, to vote and decide who they want to represent them in the next few years in the board. Now, for me, if I'm going to represent someone, I can't do it based on my own ideas. I need you to tell me what it is you want. What do you think that ISC2 can do better for you guys? From a chapter perspective, from a personal perspective, from a professional perspective? Do you think they should invest more in research and communication? Do you think they should invest more in job opportunities for members or networking opportunities or anything that you have in mind? And I'm writing all that down because, again, hopefully I'll be on the board. And if I'll be on the board, I want to represent board members. So the floor is yours. And I want to hear from you guys what it is. What can ISC do to support you? So seriously, the floor is yours.
All of that you mentioned. We're shaking our
Yeah.
heads like, yeah.
Yeah.
All of that's the
Yes.
truth, man. But
Free.
yeah, no, we struggled honestly, and our story's almost the same, except we're still struggling because how would you put this? We are in a poorer state with a scattered population, and the population that actually is in our community, well, they work for super secret entities and they don't want to talk to each other. So it's harder for us to actually get any traction. Those of us that you see on the call and those of us that are still around after 4, 5, 6, I don't know how many years now. How long has it been, Tatra and Krissa? I don't know. We've
Long
been friends
time.
forever, right?
Long time.
5
Yeah.
5 years.
5 years.
Yeah, we're starting to burn out.
Yeah.
We've been here since the beginning and we've been in leadership positions since the beginning. We've tried, honestly tried to give it away to somebody else and we couldn't do it.
Just relocate. See, it's
Okay.
easier to
Good
let
too.
go when you relocate. When you don't have a choice. Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
So
Significant
to-
challenges.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
whenever we reach out to ISC, I don't know, when was the last time we did that? We did not get a response. We're holding a local conference called Interface that I'm attending. We announced that at the beginning of the show, right? And we reached out for swag. I mean, this is something we do every year. It's on the books, and we didn't get a response this year.
Yeah. But
Really?
what we were also told was when they redid the website, 2 things. They messed up the CPE portal. That wasn't correct. I had to put my
Yes.
CPEs under a different thing with a big old notice on it to go here, but it can't. And then another part they broke was the store. So I went to go in and try and find lanyards or anything. They broke it. And I was like, well, when can you get something? We don't know. And so now we're facing a conference. It's like,
What
I
can
don't know
we
what kind of
But
scrape
couldn't they
swag
send
together
over-
to
because
offer?
they were supposed to send to every chapter a little bit of swag. Like we have, what do we have? We have those nice stickers. That's the only thing I got from them. But they were supposed to be label pins and pins, and I
No.
think a
We
flag.
never got anything.
So you
Nope.
know, as a CAC member, send me an email, and I will reach out to the chapter leadership group and check out what's going on with that, because you should have actually, in the States it's probably easier, because I can tell you that from other parts in the world just the shipping costs are so expensive, so we never actually bothered getting anything from the store. When we wanted swag, we just created our own. But absolutely, first send me an email, because I will forget, because it's becoming like 4 a.m. now.
That's fine. I'm taking notes. That's good.
Yeah, so because I will send them an email. And what you're saying now is something for me heartbreaking, because there is a team doing chapter and doing membership reach out, and that's their job. And if they're not responding, then it is hopefully our job as board, hopefully mine as well, to make sure that they are responsible and they are communicating with you guys. So absolutely. So I already wrote down that. Regarding scattered population, that is a problem. I can tell you that with Israel, it's a small country, but people are like in different parts of the country. We tried to have events, like in-person events, before COVID and even after COVID outside Tel Aviv. Some of them were more successful. We had one like 30 minutes north from Tel Aviv, which made me very happy, because I live about an hour and a half from Tel Aviv, with traffic, 45 without. And a lot of people that are from Tel Aviv didn't even bother, although it was just 30 minutes. So we had a few events up north. We tried to do one in the south next to the INCD, and the turnout was so low that we didn't bother doing it again. So I totally get it, that people, they want to be in their comfort zone. Now, I agree, it's a challenge. I wonder if ISC2 can do things. You know, how many of you are attending, if any, Congress? Late October?
Yeah, I'm going this
maybe.
year.
So I'll see you guys.
Virtually, though.
Even that, you know, even virtually is great. One of the things that I missed last year with virtually why don't you do networking opportunities online? Like with
Well,
other
we did try
chapters?
that we have reached out a couple of times to our nearest neighbor is probably the DFW chapter. They're quite big.
Hmm.
Networking opportunities locally are almost non-existent too, unfortunately. ISAC, maybe a couple more, but we do have some contacts. What it comes down to is time. I mean, right now it's Tatra, Krissa, me, and a handful of maybe others that float in and out. Boy. I
Yeah.
don't know about Tatra and Krissa, but I am like I'm still
Burned out.
working. I've got people IMing me, and it's after hours for me, you know. So
I think it's hard for us to be a partner to our community when we don't feel like ISC2 is a partner to us. And that makes it really hard to engage. It's like we live here and we understand a lot of the issues that impact our local community, and we would love to provide mentoring and outreach and all kinds of things to increase the volunteer ranks and the giving that we give back to our local community. But I feel that as a long-term member of ISC2 and of this chapter, as one of the founding members of the chapter, I also feel that, we're set adrift in a very real way. I mean, I get that our main organization is global and has a lot of other responsibility that they, need to engage with. But for us, the things that work in a typical large community don't
work here
work in New Mexico. And so,
for
things
various
like,
reasons.
yeah, like, hey, you guys, you have a great, community site. Help us get a website so that we don't have to roll our own.
Yeah.
Help
Absolutely.
us figure out how to do some of this stuff so that, like, we don't have to pay for it out of pocket when our money would maybe be better served to having live events with giveaways or to paying for bigger speaking events and conference events in our area, but the reality is, again, multifaceted, but I feel like we've been kind of set adrift, and it makes it a little challenging because I feel like we're not really able to leverage our, ISC2 organization very efficiently or very fully, and that they don't really give us some of the critical service, but let us become community ambassadors and lead the way for our own local community.
I completely agree. Unfortunately, I hear that from a lot of chapters. I did do quite a few reach outs in the last few months. This is something that has been repeated again and again. I thought it was just me because I was in that part of the world that no one thinks about, but apparently it's not just me, and even chapters in the US, which I have to say I was surprised because whenever we were talking to ISC2 in the past, I can tell you that they always said, well, there are things that we can do in the US that we can't help you in the Middle East. And I'm like, you're a global organization. I don't
global
care that I'm in the Middle East. I really don't care. But now I've been hearing it for a while that it's the same in the US. So I think that ISC2, they should and we should do better. I agree. The community ambassadors, I love that term. Yeah, I think that ISC2 should give you something. I had a conversation with Central Florida with James, and both him and other chapter leaders had t-shirts and polo shirts with ISC2 with the chapter logo, and I was like, oh, that's cool, I want one of those. So do that. They created their own. And I'm like, it shouldn't be something that a chapter will create for themselves. I mean, we are volunteering, we're giving out our time. Don't ask us to give our money as well, because ISC2 does have a budget. I already thought from a techie point of view, because that's my comfort zone. How would we create something like that? How would we create just a template under the ISC2 website with the different chapters. Now, if a chapter doesn't want to, if I'm looking at a chapter like Central Florida that has been running for 10 years and have a huge turnout group, well, that's something different. They already have the resources, they have sponsors, that's very different from a chapter starting out, or a chapter like you guys that have people scattered all over the state. So it's very different.
Yeah, so a little bit about our population. You mentioned Israel has about 9 million people. The entire state of New Mexico is much smaller than that. Like
Really?
less than a third of that population.
It's a huge country.
It's a huge country, and we're the fifth largest state.
Yeah.
We have
Albuquerque only has 1 million people.
Yeah.
How much?
Albuquerque.
1 million.
Albuquerque metro area.
Metro.
This is not just Albuquerque.
It's smaller than Abu Dhabi.
Yeah.
That's
Wow,
how we get.
I
And
didn't
we're the
know that.
biggest
Okay.
city. We're the biggest
So it-
city at 1 million.
Very odd characteristics is what we're trying to say, right? Nobody, well, I'm sure, if you go out on the countryside in your country, you'll be able to appreciate it, right? Population is about 3 per square mile. And yeah,
Yeah.
You
Well,
can see for
maybe,
miles.
by the way, maybe just focus on Albuquerque. I'm not
well, we
honestly
have,
because
yeah, I was getting to this, right? So we have population centers. Albuquerque is a big center, obviously the largest in the state. We got Santa Fe and Los Alamos, which is, you can kind of count that as the same area. And then down
Okay.
south, we got the Las Cruces area. Those are the 3 largest population centers. Unfortunately, it's a 45-minute drive to Santa Fe and 3
3.
hours down to Las Cruces.
2.5, depending on how fast you drive.
Yeah. We mentioned our closest neighbor chapter, DFW,
Mhm.
10 hours.
Well, there is one in El Paso now, so that's 4
Well, okay.
4
All right,
hours.
that's
to
4,
Yeah,
El Paso.
right?
But
Still,
what
that's
about
4
other
hours.
communities like Isaka? You mentioned Isaka before.
Isaka, let's see, what else is there? There's
There's
Isaka,
Infragard.
and there's Infragard.
Maybe
The
both
problem
of
with
Okay,
the
us.
we
other
just-
organizations
the
is the
list.
same as what we experience, in that they also struggle. So even giant organizations, like ones that you would think would have huge membership, like Infragard, they struggle. They still struggle with membership and getting people to engage. We took a huge hit with the pandemic, and that really devastated our ability to deliver service to our community, and it devastated kind of the interest. I think everything kind of came to a screeching halt. And we tried to stay engaged, and we kept doing
We kept
weekly,
drifting off. Yeah.
we kept doing
For one
weekly
reason.
meetings and doing everything that you could imagine. And it's such a burden after a while.
It is.
It
Well,
gets disheartening.
Mhm.
Yeah,
What
because
we
you invest
found-
so much of your
yeah.
time and you don't feel you get any traction.
I mean, we founded the chapter when, in what? I want to say 7 years ago.
Yep.
I
Has it
can,
been that long?
you know what? I will share something that I didn't share with other
2017?
chapters. I will share my biggest failure and the one that I learned most from. My biggest failure was let's go to Think Safe Cyber 1.0, because current Think Safe Cyber is 2.0. So about exactly a year before I started Think Safe Cyber, the community, I started a Facebook community. I don't remember how I called it, but it was something around the same name. And for about 3 months, I was the only one who wrote anything on that page.
Mhm.
And I had about 300 people, and I couldn't get any traction. And I probably didn't invest enough of my time, but I did spend some time doing it. And after about 3 months with 300 members, I said, well, maybe people just don't want to hear it. Maybe it's not interesting. Maybe it's me. Maybe I don't know how to be a community leader. And I closed down that page, that community. And for a few months, I was like, can't be. It's impossible. People are interested. People are asking me questions. It's impossible. Someone has to do something about it. I said, you know what? I have to learn from it. And I actually went and I started really researching. I spent a lot of time on that, researching communities in completely other fields that are talking to the general public, not something that is like the cybersecurity for Facebook group, because that I know how to run. It's that is my comfort zone. So I was looking at other communities, and I actually took a seminar about building a community, building a social media community, things like that. And the same day of the seminar was on Friday. It ended at 3 p.m. At 4 p.m., I picked up my kids and my husband, and we went up to the Hermon mountain, skiing and things. And in the evening, when we were chilling in the cabin, I opened Think Safe Cyber. And within less than a week, we had 1,000 members. It was the same idea. It was the same manager. Everything was the same, except for the fact that that time I had a strategy. So I basically, the only difference between 1.0 and 2.0 with the fact that time I had a strategy. I knew who my target audience was. I knew what I wanted to do. I knew what I'm going to deliver. And I already had a plan for the first 30 days. This is what I'm going to deliver in the next 30 days. And I even had an annual plan, sort of. It wasn't all written down, but I had the ideas for the entire year. And that really made a huge difference. And for example, I can tell you that the UAE chapter for ISC2 is struggling. It's really struggling. I think that in the UAE, there's huge bureaucratic obstacles to starting a chapter. You have to first form, and then you can start a chapter. So it took the founding members 2 years to get the license. 2 years. And by the time they got the license, which was less than a year ago, I think they were pretty burnt out. They didn't really have the energy. So they just needed a little bit of a shove, a little bit, someone nagging them and pushing them. And that's what I've been trying to do. I'm a special advisor to that chapter, and I'm trying to do that. And we're working, we were supposed to have a meeting today, we'll have it tomorrow, about the annual plan. And once you publish an annual plan, and I saw that in the Israel chapter as well, people get excited. When you tell them, we want to do mentorship programs, they don't understand what that means. But when they tell them, when you tell them, on January 1st, we're going to launch our mentorship program, and we want to go to 5 K-12 schools and do this, that, and the other, for example. And you give them a plan, and we're looking for volunteers, then it's something that is attainable. Then they understand what you need and how they can help you. And maybe they'll say, you know what, why don't you go to my kid's school first, for example. And I think that really made the difference for me with Think Safe Cyber. And I think that it could make a difference for you guys. Sort of publishing in advance what you want to do.
Yeah, no, I hear you, May. So we did reach out to the Florida chapter once, James McQuiggan.
Yeah.
And Tatra's been the best resource we've got. Sorry, Tatra, I gotta, ring your bell a little bit here, right?
Thank you.
I mean, honestly, I'm not that great online. I'm your typical security nerd, and I'm very suspicious of everybody and everything else, right? But Tatra's reached out to you. Tatra's reached out to James McQuiggan, and we've gotten some really good words there. And is there such a thing, and maybe this is an idea that you can develop, but is there such a thing as chapter mentorship?
Yes,
like
there
one
is.
chapter mentoring another chapter, and building upon successes in that way, repeated successes.
So yes, there is a chapter mentorship program. It is mostly for new chapters.
Mostly.
And what you're mentioning now, I think that's actually a great point, because if a chapter, it doesn't matter how long they've been running. If they're struggling, I think that the CAC, the Chapter Advisory Committee, should give mentorship, should give advice. So absolutely. So I will write that. No, I will ask our team, I will ask Tara if we can reach out to all the chapters, and also if anyone needs mentorship, needs help. And we can do that, because in the CAC, that's part of the things that we do. And I can tell you, for me personally, I said giving is receiving. Every time I sit with a chapter, it gives me an idea for my own chapter. It gives me an idea for my own work. So it's a win-win for me. Yes. Yeah. So
I think the only other thing on my list, May, is I'm a little disheartened by the sunsetting of the HCISPP.
Yes.
Sorry. I own one too.
Yeah, I was like, but I really like that one. I mean, the only reason I kept it was I really liked it.
it gets more than that, right? So I got the email twice about, my options. But I hold CISSP, ISSEP, ISSMP, CGRC, and HCISPP.
You put me to shame.
Uh,
You
He
put
No, I
everyone to
don't.
shame.
I got more. No, never mind. But
He has too many pens on his hat.
I have too many pins on my hat. I've got, I got nowhere to turn because the options are an exam voucher. Well, nothing comes close to the HCISPP to begin with. And I'm not interested in what's left.
Yeah.
What's left on the table,
Did
right?
they say why
And
they're
the
sunsetting it?
certificates just don't make the mark. So I don't know. I mean, is there going to be another privacy certification in the future? That's the one I'm really wanting because that's my only one.
Privacy
So I
would
can
be
tell
good.
I was one of the co-authors of HSIP back in 2020. And one of the things that I told them, look, we have a privacy certification right here.
Yeah, right there.
Add GDPR, add a few others. That's it. You're done.
Yeah.
It's like it's ready. So I was very surprised when I got the email that they're discontinuing it. I would take it up. For example, that is something that I would love to take with the board. I mentioned that one of the things I want to see is additional certification and additional roles, like career pathways. So yeah, that is something that I think that ISC is lacking. I think everyone is talking about privacy now. So why isn't ISC offering and to be honest, my problem with HSIP was it was too focused. Unless you're in the healthcare industry, I want to hear about other things as well. I'm not just interested in HIPAA and 27799. I want to know other things as well.
And privacy is big, right? I know globally from the GDPR standpoint and everything else, but even the states are getting on board now. I mean, within the last 2 years, I mean, all of a sudden we've got privacy laws coming out our ears.
Between Texas and California.
Yeah. So
Well,
privacy
you know
is
that
huge.
even in the UAE, they have something that actually the privacy law drives business. They've done something incredible that in their Privacy Act, they demanded that personal information of Emiratis cannot leave the financial information cannot leave the UAE. So any bank, and I was working here for a bank that wants to be with a cloud-based solution, needs the cloud to be in the UAE. And that drove at first Microsoft and then AWS and GCP to start a data center here in the UAE. And they were looking at the entire region and they decided to do it in the UAE because of that law. So it actually drove businesses into the UAE. I thought that was absolutely fantastic from their point of view.
Yeah. On the ISSC or the HCISPP, if they, I mean, they gave options for exam vouchers, but it was extremely limited.
Yeah.
I have one wish. If it was one wish, I'd like to round out the concentration list. I've already got 2. I don't have that third one.
Okay. Did you find benefit with the concentration?
What's that?
Did you find benefit with the concentration? Because I heard a lot of mixed.
There is a lot of mixed, but for me, it's more, self-serving, egotistical, whatever you want to call it, right? But I've already got 2. Why not pick up the third? It's architect, and that's my new role. So
yeah,
that's the one I want.
It doesn't
there you
include
go.
that one.
Solved itself right there.
See,
yeah.
We'll cheer you on from here. I'm not doing it.
Me neither. I remember that when I did the CISSP, I said, "Wow, this is a 3-time experience, all wrapped in one. First time, last time, and never, ever, ever again." Like
Oh,
I was
I
like
like
during the
that.
exam,
That's
during the 6 hours, I was like, "Win or lose, I'm not doing it again. No way, I'm not doing it again."
Oh, heck
And then
no.
a year later, they reached out and told me, "Can you teach HSIP?" I don't have HSIP. Guess what you're doing next week? I don't wanna. But it was only 3 hours, so it was easy.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was easy.
The only
Yeah,
2
CPEs only
certifications the only 2 certifications I've had to retake is ISSEP, one of the concentrations, and CCSP, because I have no idea what they're talking about on that one. It's a
Well,
foreign
they've been
language.
nagging me to try. They've been nagging me to teach CCSP. I was like, I don't want to.
No,
I mean, I now I
tried
can't
it
say
3
that I don't
times.
understand cloud anymore, or because I did run I was a CISO for a bank that was completely cloud based, but it doesn't mean that I like it.
Yeah.
I see that we
Obviously, it
have other
doesn't agree
people.
with me.
See, we have other people on the call. Anyone else wants to share their ideas, their thoughts, things that hopefully I can do for you guys as a board member, hopefully. Yes, no, maybe not.
I'm
Okay,
just
so
the
I'm going
loudest
to be
mouth in the room. Sorry.
I was gonna say Keith, David,
Keith, David. So I'm going to be shameless
Demola.
and mention that voting starts, if memory serves, October 4th. No, October
Hey.
11th. October 11th. October 11th. What? October 11th all the way to the 24th, I think. They will send you a bunch of emails. I know that most members ignore ISC2 emails. That's also a note for me as a potential board member, because they do send a lot of emails. They do tend to send a lot of emails. Sometimes they're nagging. So I think that also a communication channel between ISC and its members, I think, would be advisable. I swear, although I'm a bad person, this QR is not malicious. It's just my LinkedIn page. So I swear it's not malicious. So whoever wants to connect, I should probably add just the link. Whoever wants to connect, I'd be more than happy to connect, to hear more ideas. Hopefully, if I'll be on the board, you have someone on the board that knows you guys. Feel free to reach out. I try to respond in a timely manner. Bear with me. Sometimes I do get distracted, but I do try to respond in a timely manner. I will reach out to the chapter advisory and chapter membership committee and try to understand what's going on and why they haven't responded. And also about the chapter mentorship, because I think that is huge, a huge input that you gave us here. So that's it for me. And if you guys have anything else, please share.
I'm good.
I mean, you gave us a lot of great ideas. Thank you, and definitely we're looking forward to hopefully generating action on this side. Let's put it that way, because at this point, we did get quite a reaction when we said, hey, if this does shut down, we have a 2-year moratorium. That got some attention for a little while. But then it's like, well, okay, you know what? We can help here, and it's quiet. So, some kind of mentorship would be very welcomed. And we have tried to do the Safe and Secure Online. I think it's the one with Garfield.
Yeah,
that's what it's called. Yeah. But again, as Krista mentioned, it's hard to get out to do that when we're trying to just get support on our side to go do that. So we usually focus on like the monthly meeting. We're trying to get a speaker, that sort of thing. But to make that extra step into actually volunteering outside of the chapter, that's something that we need to work on, or definitely need help.
We just got an offer for volunteer for the October 5th event in our chat.
amazing.
Hey.
I got to do a reaction. Okay, here we go. Let's do celebration.
Yay!
Oh.
Yay! Yay! Amazing.
Hey, there we go. Yay! Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. So but even if you do the Safe and Secure, and everyone would, you don't need to do something grand. If every chapter member will go to their kids' school, just one school, that's it. One.
Okay,
that's a
so
huge
when
thing.
are they going to update that? Because last time I saw it was
yes. That's actually something I discussed with them, because in Israel we did spend the time and translating everything, and then we said, oh, that's out of date, so we created our own. I don't mind sharing what I have. Again, just drop me a line and I'll send you the ones that we use in Israel. I already translated it to English, so don't worry, you don't have to do it yourselves, because I delivered it here in the UAE, so not a problem. I'll send you what I have. That's definitely something, that's a resource that I really want to see ISC2 redo. So I'll write that as well.
At
Save.
least update, refresh just
Yeah.
a little, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And thanks to, I hope I'm saying this right, Adita Mola. Is that how I
How do you
say
pronounce
that?
your name?
Yeah. Thanks for volunteering for.
Adita Mola.
Hey, all
Okay.
right. Yes.
She got
Hooked
it
on
right.
phonics worked
Got
for me.
Yay.
I'm glad I got that because someone with an unusual name, I feel you. So great,
Amazing.
thanks.
Yeah. So see, we're getting somewhere.
Yeah, hey.
Hopefully so. Hopefully so.
I mean,
Hopefully.
we're happy that Interface the last 2 years, along with everything else here in the state, was virtual. And while they did a great effort on trying to make it as engaging as possible, it just still, it wasn't the same. And now that we're released from the lockdown, it's like people really want to get to see each other face to face. And so this is year 3. We're finally going to get to be back on the floor and say hello to everybody. So hopefully that'll go a long way to be able to at least drum up more interaction, hopefully volunteering on top of that. But in the meantime, I think we can all just sit and talk about, obviously offline about coming up with a strategy. That we shoot for each of these events and trying to drum up stuff, but I wouldn't say it's necessarily a strategy. So maybe to just to sit back and plan a little bit more.
Yeah,
interesting.
I think, based upon that, and that really resonated, Tatcha. I mean, we did that 1 year, and that was perhaps our best year when we did that. And it just suddenly dawned on me, hey, you know what? That did work. Okay. So yeah, let's resurrect it, right?
Hey, no.
Sorry for that.
If you're volunteering,
Okay.
Chris, we're down with taking
I
it.
can't volunteer. No.
You're done with your master's degree. You have time.
Yeah, you're free.
ChatGPT, create an annual chapter meetup plan. Thank you, ChatGPT. You're the best.
Okay.
Aw.
Well, maybe.
Honestly, I
You know
actually
what?
asked,
Yeah,
ChatGPT
for
is a
that,
genius.
I think I'd trust it.
Yeah.
ChatGPT is a
haven't-
genius. I can tell you from yesterday, I recorded the first episode of my new podcast. Now, I couldn't find a name. It started off with the fact that I had like 0 creative capacity. I'm super swamped with the new position of being a director and doing content. So when you do content all day, you don't really feel like creating content at night. So I asked him, can you create a great podcast name for cybersecurity talks with May Brooks? And he gave an incredible name. I think it's incredible. Cybermania. So that's the new name. And then, I thought that was cute.
That
And
was
then because
cute.
he's a genius, I was going to, the first interview was that evening, and all day long I said, I'll sit down for 20 minutes, create like an outline. And I couldn't find 20 minutes throughout the day. So at some point I said, well, can you do it for me? And he created such a great outline that it took me like 2 minutes to go over it, perfect it a little bit, give it a little bit more guidance, and that was it. And it saved me, I won't say in 20 minutes, it saved me probably an hour's work. So it not necessarily does everything right, but it gives you a lot of ideas and saves the basic planning part. So when I did a marketing plan for CRS, and I'm not a marketing person, so basically I didn't really know what I was doing, I asked him, he created something. And from that, we took it to the team and we took it to the marketing team. So that was a great initial plan.
I have a question about planning, actually,
Yeah.
just thinking about it. So, like, if you think about membership tiers and different things you can offer, is it conceivable for the larger chapter to, if we had sort of like platinum membership or gold tier membership to our local chapter, where it was like, hey, all of the benefits of whatever other tiered membership, but you also get a free ticket to our security conference, or anything like that? Is there anything like that that could help maybe drive bigger membership or drive something like that ISC2 would be willing to offer up as a way of incentivizing deeper membership?
You know what? I don't know. One of the things that I would like to see is ISC2 offering free vouchers for Congress, for chapter leaders at least. They do give vouchers for chapter members, like a reduced cost, like $200 reduction or something like that. But I do want to see them give it for free, at least to chapter leaders. There's no reason for a chapter leader to pay so much money to go on a conference. I don't know. That's actually an interesting question. Maybe in bigger chapters. The question is, do you guys have membership fees?
We do.
You do?
Yeah.
And
Am I
they're
paid
very
up yet?
minimal. Yeah, get paying members. We do have membership fees and they're very minimal. And the reason we have them is because we pay for our own website and we pay for Zoom and we pay for
Emails.
emails and that kind of marketing outreach to members. And then yeah, so we end up taking dues. But they're very minimal.
Yeah, so I think at the end of the day, it's sort of a very sensitive balancing act between getting dues and getting traction and people, and you don't want to have dues that are too high that people will say, well, I'm not paying that because it's not worth my time. On the other hand, you do want people to be engaged, and I think that paying dues has its advantages. And those were the chapters we didn't have dues. We didn't have them. Probably because Israel is.
Yeah, there's a
don't
trade-off
really-
there, right? So if we
Yeah.
had a sponsor, we wouldn't need dues.
Yeah,
Well, if we
So-
had more membership,
Right.
you could get a
know,
sponsor.
yeah,
so
one of
it's
the
it's a
issues
vicious
about
cycle.
sponsors. Yeah, the sponsorship guidelines, and let's be technical for a minute, and I'll use I'll plug in the engineer brain. How about that, right? So, and just so you're aware, the master's degree was in legal studies, so I looked at that bylaws and
Oh, wow.
the chapter thing, right?
Mhm.
And so I knew how to read it, and I said, well, there's very limited things that we can do with a sponsorship, so I don't know if I could attract a sponsor. That caused us to just try to shoestring it.
Yeah.
So
I agree.
the sponsorship guidelines might need a little more look in that regard.
we nominate
then.
Chris to take a deeper look.
I'll be the
Um,
bobblehead. Okay.
So I realize that we're over our hour, and
wow, we
I'm
are.
grateful for all of your time and the fact that it's early AM for you,
Yeah,
May.
my apologies. for talking
So
so long.
I'm going to stop the recording now.